Deep breath, what did you think of it 8 days ago, that budget on Friday?
Well, Alistair, thanks very much for having me on the show today. And I have to say, actually, I was very impressed with the overall message that the Prime Minister was sending, because this is a pro-growth agenda. She is presenting important tax cuts. She is advancing economic liberty and freedom. And I think that she's rejecting this idea of managed decline for the United Kingdom. And if the UK is to restart and reboot its economy, I think that the best way forward is actually to free the markets, cut taxes, make Britain more competitive on the international stage. Economic liberty works, as Margaret Thatcher demonstrated. So Liz Truss, certainly she's been tough. She has defied her critics, but she's delivering on exactly what she promised to do in her campaign. But
you and I both know, and Charles and Joanne demonstrated it a little earlier, that in the real world of politics, you might well have the right idea, the right policies, even the right philosophy, because it's that profound. If you screw up the delivery, you screw up the message.
Well, that's an important point, and I think that inevitably this kind of radical tax-cutting plan and agenda is going to come under heavy fire, not only from the left, but also from wets inside the Conservative Party, who are queuing up to attack the Prime Minister here and aiding and abetting the cause of the Labour Party, frankly. Certainly, I think a better effort can be made in the coming days and weeks by Downing Street and the British government in terms of selling its agenda. But I think at its core, this message of advancing a free market agenda is the right one. The Prime Minister should plough forward despite all the attacks. This is not a popularity contest here.
Well, and it is. I think it's important to stress as well the historic context of it, and to go back to the days of Margaret Thatcher and her radicalism in the early 1980s. I mean, Liz Truss hasn't had 300 economists writing to the Times newspaper saying this is all barking mad yet. I mean, she's in choppy waters, but she hasn't sunk yet. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I would say that Margaret Thatcher came out of very, very heavy fire in the early days of her premiership, and she was frequently attacked, actually, for her tax-cutting, pro-free market agenda. Liz Truss is facing the same kind of, I think, pushback here, and she has to, I think, project the strength and resolve of Britain's Iron Lady here. And Liz Truss really has to stand up for Britain, stand up, I think, for the principles of economic liberty and freedom. She will prevail if she continues down this path, actually.
One of her top lieutenants, Simon Clarke, the Levelling Up Secretary, who used to be number 2 in the Treasury, so he knows the numbers as well, is openly talking now about shrinking the state, capping benefits, up by wage rises rather than by inflation, and even more cuts. To be brutally honest, this is the full pitch.
Well, I think it's absolutely necessary, actually. You have to cut government spending, actually. You have to reduce the size of the state. And my advice to the British government is adopt exactly the opposite of what the Biden presidency is doing in the United States, because it's an absolute disaster. The huge levels of public spending there, $30 trillion national debt in the United States. You have the stock market actually crashing at the moment due to the huge levels of government spending that are in place. So what you're seeing in America is absolutely disastrous. Britain wants to go down a different path. This is the right path to go down. You've got to cut spending. You've got to cut taxes. You've got to advance the entrepreneurial spirit of the British people, which I think is exactly what Liz Truss and the government are attempting to do here.